Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with an Ezreal updated complete guide for the latest patch 5.2a onwards. And of course, as usual, before we jump into it, don't forget to check out the Ezreal basic guide that I posted way back when for some tips and tricks, skills, leveling order, as well as some combos. So without further ado, let's jump straight into talking about his items, runes, and spells. So first up, you want to start off with the Gluttonous Greaves in the laning phase. Now, Ezreal surprisingly is one of the strongest laning phase champions with press the attack and just building Gluttonous Greaves early, so you don't actually want to waste your power by building Manamune or like rushing Manamune or tier first. You always want to start off with the Gluttonous Greaves to give you the AD as well as the Omnivamp to keep yourself competitive with other opponents in lane, and this will of course lend to your laning power and help you get kills in lane. So next up, we go for the Manamune. Manamune, of course, is going to evolve into Mirror Mana, converts your mana into AD, of course, gives you on-hit damage on your spells as well. Not really your spells, but your Q and your auto attacks as well. So you always want to go for the tier component first, which is this one to begin stacking it up. And then we next have Triforce, where we want to go for Sheen early before we actually complete Manamune most of the time to get that extra on-hit Spellblade passive. So of course, Triforce gives you all of the good stats, as well as the Spellblade passive, which is to me the main point of the Triforce. Gives you a lot of damage, a lot of good stats. Next up, the last three items are kind of variable, but in general, I think the best third item is going to be Riftmaker. Riftmaker, of course, did just get a little bit of a change, but still a pretty good item. You get all the good stats, as well as in this case giving you AP instead of AD, which Ezreal also scales off of, and gives you 13% Omnivamp, really useful for your sustain, and of course the Void Corruption passive, where when you're in longer fights, it is going to help you deal some true damage. Of course, that part got reduced in the latest patch, but it is still pretty decent. Now, last two items, it's definitely variable. So, Mole Reminder, I find it is a very common purchase in most games, just because of the fact that you generally are going to need Grievous Wounds. Of course, this is your armor pen item. Now you can of course swap this out with Seralda's Grudge, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And your last item, again, very situational. GA is just put there as a placeholder, where you can of course get the revive. So as I mentioned, you can use Seralda's Grudge instead of going for Mole Reminder. It is generally a better item as long as you don't need Grievous Wounds. And last item options also include something like Bork, which is basically when you're dealing with very tanky teams to help you with that current health, on-hit damage. And also if you're into heavy AP teams, Maw is going to be really good. Gives you a really good amount of stats, as well as giving you that magic resist. And for the runes, it's actually not going to be press the attack / empowerment all the time, because most people, including myself, have kind of figured out that Ezreal is very strong in lane, and with the PTA you can actually compete with people in lane. You'll see this a little bit later when you fight a Kalista Thresh, you'll see what I mean. And of course Brutal, Giant Slayer, and here we go for Bloodline. You could go for Alacrity if you want as well, but I think Bloodline is just better to get a little bit more healing. And Bone Plating here to have again more laning power, and also to block combo damage in the later stages of the game. And then for the spells, we go for Flash as well as Exhaust. And with all that said, let's now jump into talking about our gameplay. Okay, so now hopping into the gameplay. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I will of course be sure to address them. So, you guys can already tell from the video length, this is going to be a pretty lengthy gameplay. And yeah, so here I'm playing Ezreal Karma into Thresh Kalista. So Ezreal Karma is a very strong poke lane. Both Ezreal Q and Karma Q does a lot of poke. And with Thresh and Kalista, it's a very strong all-in lane, where if they manage to go in on you, you're pretty much going to die because they have a lot of damage all-in. So the game plan with Ezreal Karma against Kalista Thresh is basically to just poke them out and not look for fights. So you can see Karma already sticking to the game plan. I'm trying to stick to the game plan, but missing my Q. But yeah, so basically we just keep wanting to launch pot shots at them now. Of course, this means that we can't really step up to them. So you can see here that they are going to constantly get priority over us because we're concentrating on poking them or securing minions, whereas they get priority. And you can see here that invading is in Zinjao. So we see this, but the next minion wave has not yet crashed, so we can actually come over and help. Kalista has already secured first blood, and now we realize that we're in a little bit of trouble here. Unfortunately, Karma gets hooked, so I have no choice but to continue the fight. I'm attacking Kalista over the wall. I exhaust her to try to stop her from killing Karma, but she hasn't really pulled the spirits yet. She does so now, but she flashed into the tower, which means that I am able to actually finish her off. Now Xin Zhao comes in to help out with the Thresh, and I'm able to land my final Q and pick up a double kill. So all in all, Kalista picked up 2 kills and a death, whereas I picked up 2 kills, didn't die. So I would say that I would say that my team kind of got the better end of that trade. But yeah, so you can see the Kalista Thresh being super duper aggressive, not necessarily wrong. I personally wouldn't invade as a duo onto the enemy blue buff, considering the fact that we can rotate as well, because we could clear the minion wave and rotate. But I did see what they're trying to do there. If Xin Zhao wasn't there, for example, they might be able to just steal our blue buff from under our nose, something like that. I see the plan there, but unfortunately it did not quite work out for them. So here I have my boots as well as a Sapphire Crystal. Of course, Sapphire Crystal is going to start charging up my tier already. Now, again, this time we're stuck with minions under tower, but we are going to rotate to the fight instead. Xin Zhao dies again. Now, Thresh is taking a bunch of damage from my PTA. I'm going to hop over the wall. He hex splashes over. I'm going to just splash over and finish the kill on him. Now, Kalista, one thing about her, she doesn't have range. So actually, I'm kiting her out a little bit here. Karma lands the slow with the Q, and now we're just auto-attacking her down and running her down. Karma unfortunately does end up dying to the Kalista, and I get the kill on Kalista. Now, what Karma should have done here is she should have just simply walked away and let me finish the kill on Kalista, and instead of letting Kalista trade 1 for 1. There's no reason for Karma to be chasing a 1 HP Kalista when I'm basically full HP and there's no way that she escapes. It's either she dies to me or she runs all the way to the base where she's gonna get killed by one of the towers. So unfortunately, Kalista gets an extra kill that she shouldn't have gotten. But once again, I got the 2 kills and didn't die, whereas she got the 2 kills and she did die. So here I'm trying to cross-map snipe onto the Fiora. Not quite on target, almost there, but not quite. Here we pick up the tier, and we get the Sheen as well. And as I mentioned, we are playing super duper aggressive in the early game. Now, I didn't actually mention that, but we're kind of being forced into that by the fact that Kalista and Thresh are constantly invading our jungle. So we definitely want that Sheen for that early game power. They have gone a number of plates though, so Kalista still has a lead over me despite the fact that we have even kills and she has more deaths. Thresh obviously is in that bush. So we're going to put a ward there to ensure that we have vision on him. Here we're getting pushed in as usual. No big surprise here. But this time we're able to pretty much clear the wave almost immediately, and we know that they are rotating. So here they actually go into the jungle to hit the Squire's Bloom, and that means that our ward in the bush is probably going to be removed. Now here they're going onto our blue buff again, and I'm like, oh man, so I have to rotate here. Now my minion wave is pushing in this time, so I'm going to go for rotation to help them out. I'm not sure if they got the blue buff, but either which way they are in a little bit of trouble. Xin Zhao flashes straight into the wall. Kalista for some reason decides to walk back towards the lane here. Lissandra is here to help out. I get a 2-man ult onto Kalista and Thresh. Kill Thresh before he hits the hook, and now Lissandra running for the hills. Lux hits a beautiful binding. I hit the Q and I actually secure another kill. So I'm actually starting the game 6-0-1. 4 minutes into the game, so you can see I'm incredibly fed. This time it doesn't work out for them at all. Whether or not they got the blue buff still doesn't matter because they both died without killing anybody this time. So this time my team firmly actually wins this trade. And now the 3 of us, including the Lux, is smacking the tower. Now we can see Volley Bear rotating because of the vision that's given from the Hex Gate. So here I'm just channeling Recall right at the enemy tower, and I'm actually able to get off the recall, so I'm safe, but my team is kind of not because they're a little bit getting run down by the enemies at this point in time. They are able to escape though without dying, and now we have 4 enemies in the top lane. Of course, Dragon has just spawned, so they're probably going for that. And I have the Dematerializer in my pocket. I'm gonna demat the Cataminion, and we're gonna just get rid of the rest of the minion wave and see if we can rotate. Xin Zhao is pinging if he wants to go in. I'm not too sure about that one though. So here, Karma basically just gets caught and pretty much just dies. Here I'm just auto-attacking Lissandra from over the wall. For some reason she's not trying to actually walk away, so I'm mispredicting her movement because I'm thinking she's going to try to walk away, but she's just standing still auto-attacking for some reason. So I missed a bunch of, not a bunch, but like maybe 1 or 2 Qs there. But eventually we're able to take down all 3 of them yet again, and you can see this is kind of where the game is kind of swinging towards our favor a little bit. I mean, we did not get the dragon, but we did get the majority of the kills. Kill count still relatively even. Enemy team still slightly ahead in terms of goal, but I think that these fights are going pretty alright for us, especially considering the fact that I'm getting all of the kills. We get the turret, but it isn't actually first turret because Fiora has already gone first tower on the opposite side of the map. So this is where I start to realize that Fiora is going to be a problem. So Pantheon, his KDA doesn't look horrible, he's 2 and 3, but he's only 3k gold. Fiora has like almost 6k gold, so she has almost double of his gold. I'm only going to assume that that's from getting the Pantheon out of lane, and then just smacking the tower and getting all of the tower plates and the first tower of the game as well. So we're definitely in a little bit of trouble here against the Fiora, who's definitely going to split push and cause trouble. So here, Kalista is rotating down for some reason, gets caught by us because Karma is blocking her way, and I just come in for the rotation from behind, and Kalista dies once again. You can see here that Fiora gets a double kill as well, and I'm really thinking that we're in deep trouble now. She has more than double the goal of the Pantheon at this point. She doesn't have as much goal as me, but Ezreal definitely is going to have some trouble 1v1ing Fiora, because Fiora, of course, is the best 1v1 champions in the game. As long as I can, of course, kite her out, I should be able to do it, but that is not the easiest thing to do in the world, considering she can dash in. Now here, Thresh trying to stop us from taking the tower, eats a Lux root and a bunch of damage for his efforts instead. Lissandra comes in with the root. I'm getting off the ulti to not only clear the minion wave, but also get damage onto Lissandra. Now, Fiora 1v1s the Pantheon, and to no one's surprise, obviously, Pantheon dies. I'm not even quite sure why the Pantheon, who was actually 2 and 3, now just died to Fiora 2 more times, and now is 2 and 5, and Fiora is getting only more and more fed by the minute, almost catching up to me in terms of gold. And yeah, obviously we can tell Fiora is going to be a big problem, and the real problem with Fiora being very fed is Fiora is a classic split push champion, which basically means that she's not going to join fights, and she's going to split push if you're playing Fiora correctly, because Fiora is a horrible team fighter. So this means that someone has to stop her from split pushing and just ending the game, or just taking free inhibs. But the issue with her being very fed is no one on our team can really do it. Like, Pantheon can't really do it. Xin Zhao can't do it because he's probably going to have to be at an objective. Me, Lux, and Karma can't really do it either. And probably I'm the best candidate because I'm really, really fed as well, so I can at least try to hold my own against her. But if I am stopping the Fiora, it means that I'm not going to be at the team fight, and can't help my team. So my team's probably going to lose without me anyway. So probably the best approach is to send 2 people to deal with Fiora, which let's say Lux and Pantheon deal with the Fiora, and don't die. That leaves us in a 3v5. So either which way, having a fed Fiora is just incredibly horrible. Speaking of the fed Fiora, here in she comes. I'm trying to kite her away. Unfortunately, I don't hit the ult here. Now I would have actually killed her and gotten the shutdown. But now Kalista and Thresh running for the hills. We finish her off. We can't see Lissandra in there because of our vision, so we're not going to chase the Thresh too deep in. But Fiora is able to get the recall and she escape. Actually only picks up boots right now for some reason. But yeah, Fiora is a huge problem that I have no idea how we're going to deal with it. Pantheon doesn't even have his first item. I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Looks like he has 2 Caulfield's Warhammer. Maybe he's building Eclipse or something like that. But man, oh man, like this is a really horrible situation. I am 8-0 and 7, but honestly, Ezreal is kind of one of those champions that when you're really fed, you can definitely attempt to carry your team. But if your team is feeding, it's really hard to carry. So in this case, I'm going to say that my top laner, my jungler, and my support kind of are feeding. My mid laner is kind of not too bad, but in terms of gold, she's not doing too hot either. So yeah, it's really hard to carry these kind of teams that everybody on your team is not doing well. You need at least like maybe 1 to 2 other people doing well, or not like, you know, hardcore feeding for you to really carry the team. But I mean, in this game, it's kind of just not like that. So here you can see Fiora's already sticking to the game plan where she's still pushing the bot lane while the dragon is spawning, because everyone's going to be attracted to the dragon naturally as an objective. But you can see here, she's just there taking towers for free. So here we might be getting the dragon, but there is a cost. Fortunately for us, Thresh decides to in, Lissandra decides to in. They're all just jumping in for no reason. Like Lissandra, Thresh jumped in, gets ulted out by Kalista, and Lissandra jumps in, dies. And then Kalista jumps in as well and also dies. So we actually kill 3 people for free when actually no one on the enemy team needed to die. But as a result, they kind of waste our time and allows Fiora to get the inhib. So I'm not sure if it's as in as I originally thought. At first I thought they 3 were inting 1 by 1. But you could see it in another way, which is that they're delaying our time to allow Fiora to get the inhib. So I'm not quite sure which one it is. It could be a mix of both. But yeah, Fiora does get the inhib, so she pulls off a very successful split push, and she's pretty much just going to do the same on the other side of the map. So a huge top wave of ours is crashing into the enemy tier 2. But Fiora or whoever else is just going to clear that, and Fiora should start split pushing the other side of the map because the next objective to spawn is Baron in 1 minute, which basically means that if we all go to stop her, her team can start Baron, whereas if we go to contest Baron, she's going to get another free inhib, or maybe even end the game if we're unlucky since there's no more Nexus Shield. So, yeah, I know I'm talking about Fiora a lot instead of like talking about Ezreal, even though this is supposed to be an Ezreal guide. It's kind of because this also kind of shows Ezreal's weakness against split pushers, which is really the weakness of a lot of ADCs, because it's never really the ADC's job to deal with the split pusher. It's kind of the team's job to deal with the split pusher. Generally, the ADC shouldn't be the one responding to it, but yeah, it's just a huge problem in this game. I'm 10-0-8, and I can't really, you know, so-called carry my team, which is kind of tragic. So Volibear eats basically everything, survives on 1 HP. Lissandra comes in from behind, ults herself, and survives because she has bought enough time for our team to come over. Thresh has gone in on my team, gets ulted out by Kalista. I'm trying to finish the kill on Kalista, but I'm a little bit deep. And Fiora, unfortunately, here shows up behind us when I honestly thought that she would be on another side of the map. And she gets a 1k shutdown from me. So now she's 1k gold up on me because she took my shutdown, whereas I wasn't able to take hers at all. And yeah, the situation is getting a little bit dire because now we've even died to Fiora and given her our shutdown. And obviously she's the most valuable member of the enemy team. I mean, honestly, if we gave shutdown to like Volibear or Kalista, it's probably still pretty bad. Even Lissandra isn't really even good. So really we should just try to avoid dying. You know, that's kind of a duh kind of thing. But unfortunately, yeah, Fiora gets her shutdown, and it's going to be an even bigger problem than she already is. She has now 3 full items, even have Death's Dance, so really hard for me to deal with her. I mean, Karma and Lux are not really doing enough damage to really deal with her, so this ain't going to happen. Now here, Baron is being started off by the enemy team. Fiora is kind of trying to zone people off, but I don't think she's very effective at that. Here I'm going to ult into the pit to deal some damage to the enemies. Pantheon ults in even though he's not even the jungler. Now here I'm trying to shift over to go for the fight. I kill Volibear over the wall and eventually pick up a triple with a mix of auto attacks as well as Qs. So this kind of mitigates their Baron pressure a little bit because 3 people died, so they have to kind of wait for the respawn to really do anything. And the TX is up, but obviously Fiora can't be the one taking it. Kalista ideally shouldn't be the one taking it either, so they kind of have to wait for the respawns for someone to actually take the TX and start pushing with it. In the meantime, I spot a huge wave up here in top, where of course the wave did crash into the enemy tower and eventually bounced into a slow push. And here we're going to quickly deal with this wave. And yeah, so here that someone has finally taken the TX. It is actually the Kalista. Of all people in the end. Fiora now comes here and I realize I'm in trouble. Obviously you can see Fiora just easily 1v1s me and I just die straight up. No real surprise there. Even through the exhaust she still kills me because she does true damage. Yeah, obviously I shouldn't be pushing up that far, so that was my mistake. And yeah, Fiora picks up another kill and I'm off the map for the enemy team to use the Baron with. And yeah, the situation is not looking very good. So here you can tell the game still is pretty long, so it's not really going to end here. My team is trying their best to stop Volibear as well as Fiora, but it's not quite working out. And this is really where you see one of the main weaknesses of Ezreal. So Ezreal is kind of bad in these particular situations, but before we talk too much about him, let's see we respawn and we're trying to clear the minions, which we kind of do. TX is getting chased away, but of course, as usual, Fiora is just taking the inhib on the other side of the map. No one on my team is really trying to stop her except for me. Thankfully, though, I'm able to scare her off with my Karma and Pantheon rotating as well, and she has to kind of run away. The final dragon before Elder is up, but of course, you know, we're gonna kind of ignore it because enemy team is gonna be able to easily get it before we get anywhere near that area. Pantheon ults into the dragon pit for some reason just to donate his life over to the enemy team, I guess. But yeah, back to my point, which is that this is kind of the main weaknesses of Ezreal. You can be very fed, but if your team is just getting pushed into the base and your whole team is kind of feeding, there's really not much you can do. Because Ezreal doesn't have really good wave clear, so when waves are getting pushed into him, he just has to constantly deal with the waves, which means that he can't really deal with the enemies. Whereas some other ADCs can, because like for example, like a Caitlyn Q can hit the wave and enemies at the same time. You know, things like that, so they can deal with the wave a lot more effectively, whereas Ezreal cannot. If he Qs the wave, it's not going to hit an enemy, and if he autos the wave, he can't be autoing an enemy. So, because of that, you know, we're going to be in like a situation where is going to be a little bit problematic in the sense that you can't really deal with waves, and you're very fed, but you can only really hit one target at one time, even normally, because obviously you're Ezreal, and Ezreal is a very single target focus champion, with the exception of his ult that can hit the entire enemy team if you aim it correctly and if they line up. But yeah, you can see we're trying our best to carry this team. No one on our team is even close to our goal. Like, Zinja is 4k gold behind me, and Fiora is 1k gold ahead of me on the enemy team, and yeah, so we're trying our best. We are very, very fed, but yeah, this is kind of one of the main issues of Ezreal. Like, honestly, if I was in this same position with the same KDA as like any like a lot of other champions, let's say I was a Jinx, a Kai'Sa, a Zeri, I would have so much more carry potential than Ezreal. But Ezreal kind of trades off that carry potential for safety, which is one of the reasons why I've died so little times. The first death was a little bit out of position. Second death, way too overextended. But in general, if you don't make mistakes like these, it's really hard to kill Ezreal in fights unless you waste your E. And yeah, so you can see here, I'm basically stuck in the base, permanently defending the Fiora, because really, I'm the only one who can compete with her in terms of damage, and if I stay close to Tara, she can't really kill me 1v1, so in order to kind of save as much resources as possible, I'm allocating myself to deal with the Fiora, and the rest of my team is kind of has to hold their own against the enemy team. I mean, if you take a look at the goal situation, Pantheon has the same goal as Thresh, Lux has the same goal as Volibear, and Xin Zhao has the same goal as Fiora, and Karma has a little bit more goal than, I'm not sure who's the last guy that I didn't say, maybe Lissandra or something like that. So my team can actually maybe win a fight 4v4 without me. Of course, with me there, it's going to be a lot easier because I have the most goal on my team. But then again, Fiora also has the most goal on her team, which of course does mean that we're taking away the most fed members if I'm dealing with her. You can see she's already on the split push, and here Elder Dragon is up. Fiora is actually rotating to Elder Dragon. Volibear is on the wrong side of the map, which is why we're trying to rush the Elder Dragon. Now all Xin Zhao has to do is to smite it, and we should be able to actually just win the game off of the Elder Dragon. Now here I'm getting jumped on by Kalista and Fiora, so I'm going to hop out the wall, flash another wall, and somehow the Kalista gets the Elder Dragon, and it makes no sense at all because they don't even have a jungler, and Kalista was not stacking Ren stacks onto the Elder Dragon. So here obviously Fiora just cleans house. Volibear is now just basically split pushing on the other side of the map instead of being the jungler, which in this case works out because the Elder Dragon somehow got stolen. So Xin Zhao basically just threw the entire game for us, and now Fiora is 1 HP, and unfortunately I can't kill her. Again, she's on 1 HP, so that's a tad unlucky. And now I have to defend the Volibear, and now I'm going to lose the game. So here you can see I'm trying to clear the minions, and I can't really hit him if I'm clearing the minions, so here I'm just trying to do both. Here, and luckily for me, he decides to engage onto me for some reason, which then means that he dies to the tower. Fiora is now trying to end the game, and I'm trying to stop her. Now she's gonna kill me with the Elder, but she's tanking the Nexus tower and the Inhibitor tower as well, and finally she dies. But at this point, I don't even need her shutdown anymore because I'm at full build, and in this case I even have the Bork as my last item, just because I want to be able to deal with the Volibear more easily, the Thresh more easily, and even the Fiora more easily, who has a decent amount of health in her build. So I have the Bork with me in this case. And yeah, honestly, the enemy team inted so hard there because Volibear was not at the Elder, and if we had gotten the Elder, I believe we just end the game with the Elder right there. Or maybe not end the game, but the game would have been very different to what it is right now. And yeah, Lux takes the red buff for some reason, and yeah, Xin Zhao just can't smite. So basically, the Volibear entered by not being at the dragon, and Xin Zhao entered by not smiting the dragon. So I guess it kind of evens out, and the enemy team gets the Elder anyways. Now for some reason, my team is starting off the Baron when I'm dead. I guess because Fiora is also dead, and Volibear is respawning and taking time to walk here. So everybody basically reaches here. So now it's just a straight up 5v5, and we know that my team doesn't win that. So Karma dies, everyone dies. Xin Zhao's 1 HP. I'm running away. I QSS to prevent myself from getting slow smited. I get stunned by Volibear. Press the attack props onto me. I'm running. Thresh trying to hook me. I'm gonna sidestep the hook and kill him. Kalista now trying her luck, but I have the Omnivamp, and Kalista actually gets baited in, dies to the Xin Zhao, I believe. Xin Zhao now going on to the rest of them. Here I'm trying to stop Fiora from getting the in hit, but to no avail. She gets it. Lissandra is backing, so we can see only Volibear and Fiora are left here. So we're in kind of a 2v2. Volibear is running away while Fiora is obviously trying to push that last lane, I guess. Yeah. So here, I'm going to help out a little bit with the Volibear to ensure Xinjiao doesn't die. And, yeah. Now, again, we're back in a situation where we're just defending. And we have successfully managed to defend it for the most part. I'm 18-3 and 11 with 21k gold. But it doesn't really matter. Now, Fiora, for some reason, has gone for a Manamune last item, where she has to stack that up. I mean, it is a really good item on Fiora, but the fact that you're going for it last item, like, it takes too long to spike. You should be going for something else. Even the GA probably would be better. Anyways, yeah, so we're full build, and we're trying our best to do something, but it's not quite working out. Lux uses the laser to check Baron. The enemy team is not on Baron. I'm just going to use the ult to quickly clear these two super minion waves. Fiora, again, is pushing on the last lane. And here you can see the problem. She's on the opposite side of Baron. So you can see my whole team is committing to defending her. And this means the enemy team can just rotate to Baron and start it up. Now, thankfully, we have vision on the Baron, so we'll know if that happens. But Pantheon uses the Hex Gate, and he can be spotted coming up here. If I was the enemy team, I would just be running to Baron and starting it up. But thankfully, the enemy team is not doing that. So now, instead, my team is trying to start a fight with the enemy team for some reason. And we already know we don't win that. So here, Fiora TPs to the fight because she has TP, which we already knew from just now when she TP'd to the Elder, I think. Or she TP'd to one of the objectives. It might be the Baron. But yeah, you can see my whole team gets annihilated here. And basically we just lost the game because, yeah, we have incredibly horrible macro. And I don't see any way we can defend this 5-man push of the enemy team. So yeah, I don't know if you guys were surprised by this one, but this one's another big L. I just kind of wanted to show this game because it shows both the strengths and the weaknesses of Ezreal, but unfortunately, we take the L on this one. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.